Apex Legends Legacy is almost here, and today I'm going to give you guys the rundown on everything you need to know about the new Bocek Bow, the new Legend Valk, and also much more as well. Today's video is brought to you by EA Game Changers. I'd just like to say a massive thank you to them for allowing me to capture early gameplay to show you guys. If you're excited for this new season, their biggest season yet, be sure to hit that like button, be sure to subscribe, and let's jump straight into the firing range. The two really huge things coming in this update is of course the Bocek Bow, which is a new weapon, not your typical gun that you're used to in Apex Legends, and of course the new legend called Valk, which yes, does have jetpacks. Who would have thought jetpacks would make their way into Apex Legends? I definitely didn't think it would. But I'm just going to run over a few things you need to know about the weapon and also the new legend as well, so you guys can get that head start when it comes to the launch of Apex Legends Legacy. So there is a new ammo type in this game called arrows, as you would expect with this bow. This bow actually has two optional hop-up slots, which you can also pick up on the map. I'm going to speak about them a little bit later on because there is one hop-up that I think makes this weapon even worse and I wouldn't recommend, but I'll speak about that a little bit later on. Let's go over the damage on this thing. So this thing does a maximum body damage of 70 when fully charged up. As you guys can see, the longer you pull the bow back, the more damage you're going to inflict. And you can tell when the bow is fully charged by the middle of your screen, the little meter. If it turns blue, and it's going to be fully charged up, and it does a maximum headshot damage of 123. I think it's going to get abused when this new season drops. But the reason why it's also OP is because it's a very stealthy weapon. It's very quiet. It's not like a typical weapon where you can locate where an enemy is coming from. So this is the important thing, to understand where you're getting shot from when someone's trying to use this against you. So it's important to pay attention where the arrows are landing when an enemy's trying to take you down. So for example here, you can see the arrows are landing this way. So I know the enemy's going to be located somewhere over here. This is something you're going to have to pay attention to because you won't be able to hear the arrow leaving the bow unless you're really up close and personal with an enemy. Another really important thing to note is that with this bow and with the arrows, once you fire them, you can actually run over the arrows to replenish them, and it will just go back into your inventory straight away. Arrows aren't as common as other ammo types in this game, so you want to keep replenishing your arrows as much as you can because you won't find many arrows on the map, and that's purely because you can replenish them. Now, if you do land arrows into the enemy, once you've eliminated them, then the arrows will appear in their death box. And something really funny, and the dev was actually talking about this in the presentation, is that once you land an arrow into an enemy, the arrow will actually stick out of the enemy, as you guys can see. And when they start running, they'll be running with an arrow stuck into them. And if you stick, I don't know, so many arrows into them, then they'll have like 5 or 6 arrows stuck to them. Not that you would be up close and personal with an enemy like that, but I don't know, it's just a cool feature that they've done. Makes it a little bit more realistic and funny. Now, something you want to pay attention to is that you have this bow fully charged, because as you guys can see, if you just shoot one simple shot without charging it, you do 30 damage. But if you hold it, you wait for that meter to turn blue, that meter in the center of your screen, you do more than double the damage. So it's really important that you try and charge it fully before you release each shot. So there are 2 hop-up slots for this weapon. The first one is shatter caps, which I'm not a massive fan of, but this basically turns each arrow into multiple mini arrows like you have with shotgun pellets. So if we turn this thing on, as you guys can see, we fire the arrow, it turns into 6 mini arrows or 6 mini pellets, which means you're going to land more shots into the enemy, but each shot is going to deal far less damage. So if we take a look here and we'll fire from medium range, previous body shot would be 70 damage, whereas if we have this hop-up enabled, we're getting only 25 from this range, which really isn't much at all. So you don't really want to be using this unless you're at really close range and you have no other option than to just spam enemies. The good thing is that you can toggle between each one. So maybe when you're at really close range, you can enable it. But I would stick to the single fire shot because although it's a high risk, high reward situation, if you do land a shot, it's going to deal a lot of damage into the enemy and it can land them in a lot of trouble. The next hop up is Dead Eyes Tempo. This is really good in my opinion. So it says here, firing at the perfect moment increases fire rate. We're going to fully charge up our bow before each shot. This is the fire rate of each shot. As you guys can see, it's quite fast, but it's not as fast as you're about to find out. Now we have this hop up on, we're going to do the same thing, and here we go. It kicks in now. You also get that little indication, as you guys can see in the middle of the screen, you have these 2 little slots. So once the second slot has filled up, that's when you're going to get that rapid fire sensation, but you have to continue the momentum. So as you guys can see, we've done the first one, the second one, so now you're going to get that rapid fire kick in, and it's really broken. I can see them nerfing this thing within the first week of the new season dropping because If you put this in the hands of a good player, they're going to absolutely dominate. But that's basically all there is to know about this bow. It's really fun to use, and I'm sure you're going to love it when you jump onto the new update. So Valk. Valk is a very fun legend to use, but she is balanced. I'm going to explain why. You might think she's overpowered because she's got jetpacks, but she is a very balanced legend. I don't think she'll break the meta that much, to be honest with you. One thing I've done is I went into my settings and I put the jetpack control on hold instead of toggle, but she has a few passives. So her first passive is, of course, the jetpack. You can activate the jetpack by double jumping, as you guys can see here. Now, I have it on hold in my settings because once you release hold, it will just bring you back down. The right side, as you guys can see, is her meter. If that meter's gone, then you've run out of fuel, and it goes very quickly. So you want to save your fuel or your jetpack energy for the moments you really need it. And you can go really high with this thing, scout enemies. I mean, this is how high you can go. It's kind of crazy. You can also move around in it as well. It's probably the most fun ability in the game, but as you guys can see, we're already out of fuel, so be sure to save it for when you truly do need it. The next passive I can't actually show you here, but I will be able to show you in a game. This is Valk's ability right now, as you guys can see. Those little green triangles is one of her passive abilities. You can actually track where enemies are. It's not like Bloodhound where you can scan through walls. But if they're in open space like this one, you can track them, and her passive is actually quite insane. The fact that you can just track enemies where they are on your screen. It's quite a good passive ability to have. Your teammates can also see the enemies in their vision through this green triangle. It's quite insane how good it is, because sometimes you don't notice enemies that are on your screen. They might be a little bit far away, and her passive can just track them enemies and pinpoint their exact movement. And her third passive is that she's in the recon class, so she can scan survey beacons. Now, her tactical is very interesting. She has 12 rockets you can deploy. You can hold it down here, as you guys can see here. Now, these rockets, they're not overpowered. They don't deal insane damage, but what they do, which is quite good, is that they stun enemies. Similar to what an arc star would do. So as you guys can see here, it doesn't deal an insane amount of damage, but it stuns the enemy there, and the enemy's stunned for maybe 1.5 to 2 seconds. And if you're a good player, you can capitalize on that stun. Another cool thing you can do is you can combine your passive ability, the jetpack, and also your tactical ability like this. And you can, you know, place them down whilst using your jetpack. And by the way, if some of you guys are wondering, no, you can't use your gun whilst in the jetpack at the same time, which is why I think she's very balanced. It's also really loud as well when she uses her jetpack, so you can't use it to sneak up on enemies on roofs or buildings, because they'll be able to hear you straight away in that jetpack. There is a huge delay as well from whenever you release the jump button for her to pull out her weapon, which is another reason why I think she's quite balanced as well. But her main ability, her ultimate, is called the Skyward Dive. This is going to be huge in ranked mode, because what this can do is it can boost you up in the air, and then you skydive like you would out of a jump tower. You can rotate very easily. Not only that, but you can also bring your teammates with you. They can latch onto you and go into the skydive with you, and I actually managed to do this in a few games. But this is basically how it works. So you go into this position here once you activate your ultimate, and then you have to press your shoot button for when you want to actually boost into the air and then go into towards the skydive. So let's say we want to boost now. As you guys can see, she goes up in the air, and then we go into the skydive position. As you guys can see here, it's so easy to rotate into the next ring, and I think this is going to be huge in ranked mode. Let's say you want to skydive and you activate your ultimate ability. You can actually cancel it as well by pressing the crouch button. So let's say your teammates aren't ready yet. You can cancel it by pressing the crouch button, and it will already be 75% of the way there until you can use it again. So that's just a helpful thing. Sometimes you might want to cancel it if your teammates are still looting up, for example. But other than that, that's basically all there is to know about the new bow and the new legend as well. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any new content when this new season does drop. Thank you all for watching this video. Enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, I'll catch all of you guys out in another brand new video. Take care.